Hello, and welcome to the My Heart and Mind podcast, where it's all about creating the feel-good mindset so you can make the most of every moment and reap the benefits of getting the most happiness out of life. And now, over to your host, Sally Crawley.
My show is for you if you've had a heart attack, heart surgery, a cardiac arrest, or your life has been impacted by a cardiac diagnosis. It's all about mastering your thoughts and feelings and emotions so you can feel great and live a life that you love despite your diagnosis. Thank you so much for joining me today. Just before we get into the show though, please be aware that my work is not intended to replace conventional medicine. It is complementary. If you have any concerns about your health or your heart, then do seek medical expert advice immediately. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, my hearty friends. No matter what time of day it is for you, it's great that you're here with me. If it's your first time, welcome. And if you're a regular listener, thank you for coming back again. Today's episode is an interview with John Fraser. John and I met through my Facebook group, and he's volunteered to share his story with us today. He, like me, believes that if our stories can help just one person, then that's enough. Our job is done. I do hope that this episode helps you or someone you care about. To help us, it would be wonderful if you could share this podcast with any friends or family so that it can actually help more than just that one person. John and I originally recorded this interview in June 2023. Unfortunately, due to a sad change in my personal circumstances, I was unable to continue releasing podcasts until recently. But never mind, John's here today. Well, not quite in person, but his voice is here with us today. John's story started in March 2021. It started out with just a feeling of being out of sorts during his regular walking activities. And then he sees it through until he had a triple bypass on the 13th of June 2022. Today he talks to me candidly about the wait for surgery after the diagnosis, how he kept himself distracted and the impact that it had on his wife Anne and his daughter Kaylee, and the preparation that he needed to undertake before his surgery. John shares with us what it was like in hospital, having the surgery, along with also having collapsed lung that made things just a little bit more complicated for him. Yet here he is, 10 months later, he's back swimming and living his best life. In this episode, we talk about intubation tubes and drain removal, dental hygiene, pump head, and the changes he experienced emotionally after his surgery. The meme Original Body, Rebuilt Engine, Runs Like a Dream, is one of John's favourites. And with no further ado, let's hear from John and his rebuilt heart. So, hello, John, and welcome to my podcast. I'm so pleased that you're here today, and I would love it if you would introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about your life before your cardiac event.
Yeah, certainly. Hi, my name's John Fraser. I am 66 years old. Will be 67 on the 16th of May. Before my cardiac event, I consider myself to be a fit, healthy man. Believe it or not, I was going to the gym 3 times a week before this happened, working out on treadmills, bikes, using weights and resistance machines. This happened just after the last lockdown. So when the last lockdown came into effect and I couldn't go to the gym anymore, I was doing a lot of walking. Now, we stay in a small village called Plains, which is probably about 20 miles outside Glasgow. Where I stay is at the top of quite a steep hill. So what I found is when I was going out a walk with my dog, I'd maybe be out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, on my way back when I was coming up this hill, I started to get a bit breathless and taking unusual, can't really call it pains as such, but taking unusual feelings in my chest.
A bit like discomfort, really, I guess.
Discomfort, yeah. And when I stopped and just took a breather, after about 5 minutes, it would clear. And I'd carry on my way back up to the house. And after this had happened a couple of times, I mentioned it to my wife, Anne. And when I think back, due to the circumstances that had happened previously to this, I lost my little sister maybe about a year and a half ago.
I'm sorry.
To a heart attack.
Right.
Both my mum and dad had heart attacks when they were probably, my dad when he was in his 50s, my mum when she was in her 70s. Wasn't fatal, but they had heart attacks. So there's a history of heart problems in the family. So of course, as soon as I mentioned this to my wife Anne and my daughter Kaylee, they were on my back. Get to the doctor, get to the doctor.
Good on them.
So, yeah, exactly. So this all started with me giving the doctor a phone call. The system up here is you give the doctor a phone call. Well, then you could. What happens now is you've got to go online, say you want to speak to a doctor. They will then decide whether you need an appointment or if it's a telephone conversation. I got a telephone conversation. The doctor came on the phone. I explained what had happened, explained my family history. Now, probably about a year before this, I had a very bad cold, which ended up in a cough. The cough lasted for more than 3 weeks, so I got in touch with the doctors. They sent me for an x-ray. Basically came back and the doctor told me that I had the onset of early stages COPD.
Oh, goodness.
Which isn't the case. So when I first called the doctor about this and told her my symptoms and that, her first response over the phone was, we'll give you an inhaler.
Right.
I says, well, if you think that's the correct thing to do, fair enough. Okay, we'll get one ordered for you. You'll be able to pick it up at the chemist. Within 10 minutes, she was back on the phone. She called me back, had obviously thought about what I'd told her, and says, Mr. Fraser, I think it may be better if we have a face-to-face appointment.
That's really good of them because she's put, she's working, doing her job and putting those pieces together.
So I says, right, fine, can you come down at 5 o'clock this evening? Yeah, no problem. Went down to the doctor's. In the interim, she'd made an appointment for me to go and get an ECG at Monklands Hospital, which is only 5 minutes down the road from me. So when I went down to my appointment, she sounded me all out and everything, front and back. Mr. Fraser, I can't hear anything wrong with your heart or your lungs. Everything seems to be perfect. And her words were, I'm a bit concerned now that I've made that appointment for you to go and get an ECG when you could be taking that appointment away from someone else who really needs it.
Oh, goodness me.
Exactly. So I thought, well, do you not think it would still be safer for me to go and get one? She says, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll keep the appointment.
Better safe than sorry, as they say.
Exactly, yes. So I was quite happy about that. But this all started probably about March 2021. I got my appointment eventually to go down to Monklands Hospital for an ECG. Went in, the nurse was there, and there was another nurse who was training to do ECGs. She was a qualified nurse. She was just training for new skills, basically.
Yeah.
So they gave me my ECG, asked me some questions, how I was feeling, what had happened on the lead up to it, etc. Went through all that to be told, you've got what's called stable angina, Mr. Fraser. We'll get you on some medication for that, and we'll get you sent over to Hairmyres Hospital for an angiogram. Fine, excellent. So I got one of these sprays for under the tongue.
Oh, the GTN spray.
Yeah, which, to be honest, I never ever had to use, because once I found out about this, I just started slowing right down, right down. They put me on an aspirin every morning, a soluble aspirin every morning, and bisopropyl, and Lipitor.
Right, okay.
So I was on that it took a while. It was actually November the 4th, 21, before I got the appointment to go and get my angiogram on that date.
Funny how you remember dates, isn't it?
I've got it all written down. Luckily, I had it all in my calendar on the phone, so I could go back and check it all. That was quite scary going over for that. So you're sitting there, you get all hooked up to you get the thing in your arm, and then they take you through and you lie on this bed for your angiogram. And it was really funny because the nurse says to me, "Don't worry about it, Mr. Fraser. I'm going to give you something that will just, it won't knock you out, but it'll totally relax you, so you'll be okay." She says, "Just think of it as getting a double vodka." I said, "Oh, sorry, I don't drink vodka." She says, "Well, are you a whiskey man?" I went, "Yes, I am." "Is it a single malt?" "Yes." She says, "Right, think of it as getting a double Glenfiddich." I said, "Oh, brilliant, that'll do for me." And it was great because as soon as you got that, it just totally relaxed you. Now, you could have watched everything that was happening on the screen, but I didn't.
No.
My attitude is I'm just going to lie here with my eyes shut and let you get on with your job. So that's what I did. So you get the thing up your main artery in your arm into your heart. They put dye through this and it shows them where the blocked arteries are. So I'm lying there thinking, oh, I'm probably going to get a stent or something put in, to be told, "Sorry, Mr. Fraser, we can't put any stents in. You've got 3 quite severe blockages here. You're going to need a triple bypass."
Whoa! From 0 to 100 miles an hour.
Exactly. So it was quite a shock at the time. Then you go back through and you sit in the waiting room where you've got a nice comfy chair. You're not allowed to leave because you've been through that. So I think I was sitting there for maybe about an hour. So as you can come back down, they'll give you a sandwich and a cup of tea. And then someone's got to come and pick you up because you're not allowed to drive.
Mm-hmm.
So gets all that done. Then you're waiting on the appointment for the triple bypass, which I thought would have been, I'm thinking this is serious. This will all happen quite quickly.
Yeah.
No chance.
Because this was in lockdown, wasn't it? While we were going through the pandemic.
It was after the last lockdown, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't help but feel a lot of times when I was speaking to people, they were using the excuse, "Oh, well, we just came through COVID, we're short of staff, the books are full," but fair enough, that's fine. But so on the 24th of January, I had to take a COVID test. And then I was told, "You're going to have to isolate before you come into the hospital." I had to go and see a nurse and get my blood pressure and everything taken. So I did all that, 28th of January, nurse appointment, blood pressure. And then on the 28th of February, 22, I had an appointment at the cardiac surgery outpatients department at the Jubilee Hospital in Glasgow.
Right.
And that was for my pre-assessment. So I'm thinking, great, pre-assessment, it's only going to be in maybe a couple of weeks, a month at the most, till I get my operation.
Yeah.
No chance. So part of the procedure for this, you have to go and get your teeth checked.
Yes.
So off to the dentist on the 4th of May. That was another challenge because I phoned up the dentist to get an appointment and it was like 3 months down the road before they had an available appointment.
This is adding more delays, isn't it?
Yeah. So I explained the situation to the dentist, what was happening, and I need the appointment sooner than that. And she says, "Right, what we'll do is we'll put you on the cancellation list, Mr. Fraser." Fine, brilliant. By pure luck, that day, Anne and me were out in the car. I was taking her out for a bit of shopping, and I got a phone call from the dentist saying, "Can you come down to the surgery in the next half hour?"
Uh-huh.
Yes, I can. They had a cancellation. So brilliant, it worked out fine. So I went and got my teeth tested. I was needing a fill-in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, seemingly they do this because, believe it or not, fillings can fall out. If you've got slack fillings or anything, they can fall out during this operation.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't realise it was just that. I thought it was about the infection in your mouth and all the rest of it. Not
as well. But seemingly, if you've got any slack fillings or things like that, they can come out during the operation, seemingly. So went and got all that work done, and was actually admitted into hospital on the 12th of June, the day before my operation. So went into the hospital 12th of June, I think early afternoon. Everybody was great. Had my own little room. The male nurse comes in and says, "Right, Mr. Fraser, come on, we're going to have to get you shaved." Right, okay then. And I'm just expecting to get my chest shaved where I'm going to have the operation.
Well, so would I.
No.
Oh.
They shaved my chest. They shaved my arms up the insides of my arms. They shaved from my groin right down to my ankle on the insides of both legs. And I'm like, hold on, I says to the nurse, what's going on here? Why am I getting shaved in so many places? They don't know where they're going to take the veins from until you're on the operating table.
Right.
You've got to prepare for every scenario.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough, that's fine. And then on June the 13th, went through my operation, which is really quite strange, and it panicked my daughter a bit because that was the date that my mother died.
Oh, goodness me. That really, yeah, I can imagine how stressed out she was.
Yes, so she was really panicking. Oh,
How old's your daughter?
my daughter is now 30.
Right.
So she's married and got 2 kids of her own.
Yeah.
So gets wheeled through to the theatre, wide awake, no sedative or anything, which I thought was quite strange.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you anxious and uptight leading up from when you were admitted until that point?
You know what? See, to be honest, from the moment I found out about this, I got myself into the mindset. I Googled the surgeon and everything to find out about the surgeon and who was doing my operation. It turns out that it was a guy called Fraser Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the top guys in his field.
Coincidence that your name is Fraser and his
exactly. I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. Now, the only meeting I had with Dr. Sutherland before this was a telephone conversation over the phone because it's after COVID and etc. etc. So gets wheeled through the surgery and you're actually lying there wide awake while they're prepping you for this massive operation. But as I say, what I did, as soon as I found out about this, I made a point of trying to keep myself calm. I still went out for little walks, but I was avoiding that hill.
Yeah, I bet.
I slowed my pace right down. So, as I say, I never had to use the spray or anything before the operation. But I had it in my mind that no, I'm going to go into this hospital. I'm going to do exactly what they tell me to do. I'm just going to relax and let them get on with it. I'm in good hands. They know what they're doing. The Jubilee Hospital alone has 3 theatres doing 2 operations a day like this. 6 heart operations a day.
That's quite phenomenal, isn't it, considering the length of time that they take and
exactly.
How specialists.
Take that over a year, you know?
Yeah.
So I just say to myself, right, just go in, let them do what they've got to do. You're in the best place. They know what they're doing. That's it. And that's what I did. Now, it's weird because they put stuff over your head and everything before the operation. And then, right, Mr. Fraser, count to 10. I think I got to 3. And I was gone. And the next recollection I have, after the operation, you're in ICU.
Mm-hmm.
The next recollection I can have, I didn't know what time it was or anything. I was told when I came round, it was early in the morning. I could hear the nurses talking to me.
Yeah.
And then I must have went back under again.
Okay, yes.
And
as you're rising up and down in the...
Yeah. And then I heard them talking again and said, right, Mr. Fraser, come on, we're going to take this tube out now because you've obviously got the breathing tube in.
Yeah.
And,
so how was that for you? Because I know a lot of people are worried about having the tube and then having it removed.
To be honest, it was one of my worst fears was getting that thing out after the operation, but it was fine.
Right.
Because you're still sedated. I never actually came, my eyes didn't open. I didn't come completely round, but I could hear everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were talking to me the whole time they were doing it. Now, it felt like it took quite a long time to get that tube out, but it was probably over in seconds. But no, it's not a nice experience.
No.
And then after that, the next thing I remember is waking up. But that was hours later.
Yeah. Probably kept you under, and many people just give your body and your mind time to actually come to terms with what it's just been through. It's a huge trauma.
Yeah, it is. So come round after the operation, you're in ICU for a day, but the next day, once you come round, they try to get you out of your bed and into your seat as soon as possible. Now, unbeknown to me at this time, the nurses came in the following day after I've wakened up. Right, Mr. Fraser, come on, we'll get you out of bed and we'll get you into a seat. And I'm like, whoa, okay then. I mean, I'm as weak as a newborn puppy at this stage, you know. So they've sat me up to get me into a seat, and I fainted. I've never fainted in my life. I just conked right out.
Yeah.
So they left me for a while, and then we tried it again, and they got me up. But I then found out that I actually had a partially collapsed lung.
Okay.
Okay, right. So 2 days after my operation, got the big scar down here. It's covered up at this stage because it's quite strange, because each surgeon has their own way of doing this. Some surgeons take the dressing off straight away. My surgeon likes to leave the dressing on for 3 days after the operation to stop infection from getting in, which makes sense to me. So you've got this big strip down here. You've got 3 drains just underneath your sternum to drain the fluid out of the cavity. And then to be told I've got to go through to this room, goes through to the room, and there's another drain just underneath my right arm. Under here. Wide awake.
Oh, no sedation, no anaesthesia.
A local anaesthesia.
Right.
So I'm injected.
Phew.
Yeah. But, oh my God, I've never felt pain like this in my life. So he explains to me, look, you've got a collapsed lung. We're going to have to put another drain in here to drain the fluid out of the cavity where your lungs collapse so as the lung can reinflate. Fine. What does that involve? I'm just going to make an incision between your ribs, and then we'll push this drain through the membrane between your ribs into the cavity, and that'll be it. If only it had been as simple as that. The nurse that was sitting in front of me says, Mr. Fraser, hold my hand. Hold my hand. I think I just about broke her hand, honestly. Yeah. So he does this, and I'm asking him questions, talking to me, and I'm asking him questions about, right, what you're doing, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And he says to me, so what is it you do for a living? So I've worked in the print trade most of my life. He says, well, I thought you were in the medical field somewhere with all the questions you're asking. I says, no, I just want to know what's going on. But however, I found out, he says to me after he'd done it, he says, I'll tell you something, Mr. Fraser, you've got a very thick membrane between your ribs.
Okay.
It was difficult getting that. I says, oh, tell me about it. I know it was difficult getting it in.
Yeah, you could feel the pain.
Exactly, yeah. So then you've got this stand that you're pushing about with you with the 3 drains from your chest, and then you've got this other one coming out of here, which you've got to carry.
Oh.
Anytime you move, you've got to carry. So it's back to the room. I must admit, I'd say within the first day was just a blur.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. But honestly, I've never felt so weak in all my life.
Yeah,
that's what I did after the operation.
Yeah, I can't imagine, because I haven't had heart surgery myself. But you know, when I put my mind to it, it's like I felt bad enough after having a heart attack and 3 stents. I can't imagine what you guys have been through. Yeah. When did you see your wife and daughter for the first time?
Once I came out of ICU.
Right.
So
okay.
Second day, they were allowed to come in and visit. So they were coming in. What happened was my daughter took a week's holiday from her work. Anne doesn't work. And she was bringing Anne. My daughter Kaylee was bringing Anne back and forward to visit me. I think it was quite a shock for them as well. What a lot of people don't realise is the effect it has on the people around you.
Yes, there's not a lot of support for caregivers, parents,
I mean, sisters,
mothers, lovers.
It's yourself that's going through the operation, but I don't think people realise how much it affects your close family around you.
Yeah,
you know.
I know exactly what you mean, because it's kind of, when something's happening to yourself, I think you have kind of a feeling of a semblance of control. Whereas when it's your husband or your wife or child, they have no control, because they don't know what's going on in your head, and they don't understand fully. So yes,
exactly.
quite right.
And as well for me, I was always the strong one in the family. I was the head of the family. I was the one that done things for everybody else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now the roles are reversed. I can't do a thing for myself.
Yes. Yeah. Which must have been very strange for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, the second day after your operation, they've got you going in for a shower. Now, you think, not a shower? No problem. You go in and you sit in this seat. You've got a chair in the shower for you. And I sat in that seat and I gave myself a shower and got dried. And see, by the time I did that and came out, I sat in the chair and I didn't realise this at the time. It was my wife Anne that told me. My wife Anne and Kelly came in to visit me not long after I'd had that shower, and I was passed out in the chair.
Right.
When they came in, it totally exhausted me that much that I passed out.
Yeah, yeah.
Having a shower.
Just having a shower, it's amazing how much energy it actually really uses.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so you can see why it's such a long recovery, you know. But I was in the hospital altogether for 10 days.
Okay.
Now, before I went in, you were told you'll be out within 4 or 5 days. But because of the collapsed lung, obviously,
Yeah.
I was in longer. And it took quite a while for this to drain. And it's really strange because you lose your appetite as well.
Yes.
You don't want, I don't know if it's, obviously it's because of the big operation you've been through, but you think to yourself after a few days you're going to start getting your appetite back. You don't. You haven't actually forced yourself to eat something.
Did food taste different to you?
It didn't have a taste.
Yeah. I think that I'd love to investigate this more, because there are a lot of people that talk about this, whether they've had a cardiac arrest or whether they've had a heart attack or heart surgery. There is something that happens with your
There's a lot of things that happen.
Well, there is.
The food either doesn't have a taste or it tastes completely different from what you remember. Things that I used to love eating, I couldn't stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everything just tasted so bland.
Yeah. I went completely off of coffee and red wine, which are my favourites in the world. And it was like, I can't live without having them, and yet I can't stand them.
Funny enough, I was the same. I couldn't drink coffee for a good few weeks after my operation. I couldn't drink coffee.
Yeah.
It was really strange. But they have this, because there's a machine basically keeping you alive during this operation.
Yeah.
You get a thing after the operation called pump head.
Yes, I've heard of pump head.
And it's really weird. You forget things, you do things differently, you know, it's so strange, honestly.
Yeah.
But I must admit it was good to get home.
I can imagine. Do you still suffer from pump head symptoms now?
It's really weird. I still forget things.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I've no doubt it's maybe an age thing as well.
Yeah, a lot of people do dismiss it of that. Well, it's just because of your age.
Yeah,
but if you... Yeah. So coming home, that must have felt like heaven at first.
It was. It was great because when they actually came, I didn't know I was getting home. I had to call and say, right, I'm actually getting out. Because it wasn't certain. It all depended on how this lung had healed. Now, on the day I was getting out, I got these 3 drains out and this drain out under here.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to kid on about this. It is horrendous. The pain is not getting the drains out. It's really weird because when you've got these drains in, the stitches are already there for them to close it up.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 people working on you when they do this. One person pulls the drain out and the other person closes the stitch.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah, precision.
Yeah, the sorest part is getting that stitch closed.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. So you get told, right, Mr. Fraser, we're going to take this tube out. I'm going to count to 3. I want you to take a deep breath and hold it. So they do that with everyone, so as nothing leaks out while they're closing up. And you do feel the drain coming out, but it's not sore. It's just a sensation. But closing these stitches up was horrendous. It was really sore, and this one under here was the same.
Yeah.
So, see, once you got all them out, the change in the way how you feel, and then your appetite started to come back a wee bit.
Yeah.
The next again day, I did notice, hey, I'm feeling a bit hungry here. You know, whereas before you were having to force yourself to eat stuff. I never finished a meal the whole time I was in the hospital, which my wife will tell you, for me, is really unusual. I like my grub.
Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully you got your appetite back. Sorry, hopefully you got your appetite back.
Yeah. You get sent home. You've got surgical stockings on. They give you some surgical stockings to bring home with you. You've got to wear these surgical stockings for 2 weeks full time.
Right.
And then 2 weeks, you wear them through the day, and then you can take them off at night.
Okay. And is that to stop thrombosis and blood clots?
Correct. Yeah, yes. Blood clots and things like that, yes. So that was really weird. And then, pardon me, there was a district nurse coming in to change my dressings, etc., things like that. While I was in the hospital, because I was there for 10 days and you spend a lot of time lying on your back, I took a bed sore.
Mm-hmm.
Right on the base of my spine.
Ouch.
Yes. That was actually, believe it or not, see when I got out of hospital, that was actually sorer than anything else.
Oh, goodness. And that's probably because it's in contact all the time, whether you're laying down, whether you're sitting up, every time. Yeah.
The thing that you're encouraged to do more than anything else is walk.
Yeah.
Got to walk.
Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because, you know, you've just had heart surgery and now you want me to exercise?
The next again day, they have you up walking.
Yeah.
And every day I was taking my my bucket with my drain from this part, my wheelie thing with the drains from here, and I was going a wee walk along the corridor and turning and coming back. They won't let you out the hospital until you can climb a flight of stairs.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. So the day I was actually getting out, or the day before I was actually getting out, along the corridor, right, Mr. Fraser, I want to see you going up that flight of stairs and coming back down again. I've done it. Of course I've done it. I wanted to get home. And then once everything, I was all cleared, right, the lungs fine. They made an appointment for me to go in. I think it was, where are we? Yeah, 29th of June. So I was operated on the 13th of June. I got out of the hospital 10 days later. And on the 29th of June, I had to go back into the Royal Jubilee Hospital in Glasgow for a chest x-ray just to make sure this lung had inflated properly. Yeah. Which thankfully it had. You also get, now I can't remember what it's called. It's like a thing for breathing, for strengthening your lungs. You get that home with you from the hospital. Yeah. So it's like you've got to exercise with that 3-4 times a day to strengthen your lungs back up. And it's really quite unusual because you expect you would blow in it, but you don't. You suck.
That's interesting because, yeah, you're right. That's what I expected you to say. I had to blow against pressure, but
no, you have to suck, and it's got these things in it that go up and down. Yeah. There's one part of the left-hand side, and it's got a gap of maybe about an inch where you've got to try and keep that float within that area. Yeah. And then it's got the other part where it's like a needle that goes up and down a chamber to tell you how well you're doing. Okay. And to start with, oh my God, you were hardly moving it. Yeah. You know? But then as time went on, you could see, it's great because you can see it improving.
Yeah, and I think that's quite rewarding in itself, isn't it? Because you feel you can see the difference that you're making.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a needle on it. You can move to where you got the inner needle too. It's got a needle on the outside, so you can place it to where you got it. Yeah. So it's great when you see it. It's going up, and you know your lungs are starting to get better. So you've got that to do every day, 3 times a day or whatever. You've got to get up and to start with, obviously, you're just walking around the house because you can't go outside. So we're quite fortunate. We stay in a bungalow. Right. All on the one level. And everything's interconnected. So the hall comes into the living area, through the dining room, into the kitchen, and out another door back into the hall again. So I was going round in circles.
Doing laps.
Doing laps, I was, exactly. Building my strength up. And then after a while, I was starting to go outside. And to start with, I was just walking along to the end of the street and back again to build my strength up. And then I was sort of getting brave enough to go around the block and back again. And you're just building it up day on day, trying to do more each day.
You said they're brave enough. Did you fear going outside? And
You do. You're scared in case you're going to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. I loved swimming when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was a fit guy, and I thought I was bulletproof.
Oh, yes.
I've been involved in martial arts for most of my life. Boxing, judo, 2 styles of karate. So
Wasn't by any chance Shotokan karate, was it?
Shotokan was one of them, yeah.
Yes. So not only do we have the print industry in common, I'm a black belt in Shotokan karate as well. Back when I thought I was bulletproof.
Yes. So I started off doing boxing, then I moved on to judo, Shotokan karate. I found Shotokan a bit rigid for my liking, too traditional and stylized.
Yes.
I moved on to another style of karate called Wadukai.
Okay.
So you're sort of encouraged to introduce your own stuff. And they do have obviously katas and things like that you have to do. But while you're sparring, they sort of encourage you to use your own moves, and you can a lot more flexible than
more freestyle.
Yeah, more freestyle, yeah. So I've done that for years. Went to the gym, always been a walker, but if it's hereditary, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'll give you an example of doing things and being scared. I've just recently started swimming again. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can imagine that is scary because that's using so much of your body, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, you've been split open down here.
Yeah.
You've got titanium clips in keeping your sternum together. I know it's healed now. But going into that pool and starting to swim and wondering, what's this going to do to me?
Yeah.
Am I going to be okay? And I started off very slowly, I must admit. First time I went, I done 4 lengths of the pool.
I think that's pretty hardcore for a first time. I think I would have only done a week.
Not all at once. That was a length and then taking a break, and then a length and taking a break. The second time I went last week I done 10 lengths of the pool.
Right, okay.
But again, that was taking breaks. It wasn't all in a oneer. It was taking breaks in between. Okay. It's just all about building yourself up slowly.
Okay, so remind us again, today is the 10th of May 2023. When did you have your heart surgery?
The 13th of June 22.
It's
nearly a year.
Yeah, less than a year, and you are swimming, which is, a whole body, heart, lungs, bones, exercising, which is opening your chest and that.
Exactly.
That's tremendous and fantastic, isn't it? That they can do that to you, and you can then go on and achieve that.
Yeah. The best thing I would recommend to anybody that goes through this surgery is push to get into a cardiac rehab class. I
agree.
I started doing my Now, that was another thing that took forever, by the way, was to get into a cardiac rehab. I had my operation on the 13th of June. I started my cardiac rehab on the 21st of December, 22.
Oh, that is a long time.
I had an appointment with a cardiac nurse down at Monklands Hospital. And I thought, great, this isn't going to take too long either.
Yeah.
To get a cardiac rehab. And no, they used to do it in the hospital. But because of COVID and that, again, that was all. So what they do now is they give you 20 visits to the gym.
Yeah.
To do the cardiac rehab.
Not at the hospital, like a.
By the hospital. I actually go to North Lanarkshire Council gym down the road. It's only 5 minutes drive away from me. And I go down. I've got one today at 1 o'clock actually.
Right.
And
okay.
I love it. It's the best thing you can do.
What is so great about it for you?
It just gets you back.
Mm-hmm.
you can feel yourself starting to get back to where you were. You know, I mean, if I understand everybody's not fit before they go through this operation, but the type of exercise that it involves is all cardio. Whereas before, when I was going to the gym, I didn't do a lot of cardio.
You were doing weights and
machines and things like that, trying to build muscle. And I explained that to my instructor down there, actually. I says, listen, I think this is brilliant. I said, I've never done cardio before in my life. I'm a fit guy, but I've never done cardio.
Yeah.
And it's set up like a circuit where you're doing different exercises. So when you first go in, the whole class stands in a circle and you all do your warm-up exercises. And then you go around in maybe 2s or 3s, and it'll be on a bike, on a rowing machine. Doing squats up and down out of a chair to start with.
Yeah.
So you're doing a squat, but you're sitting down while you're doing it and then standing up.
Right. Okay. So small, gentle steps moving forward.
Stepping up and down off a step, like aerobics, things like that, you know. And it just builds your body back up again. I personally feel myself getting stronger each time I go, and I can do more.
Yeah.
And I'm now at the stage where I've started sort of pushing myself a wee bit, you know.
That's good, because you're gaining trust in your body again as well, isn't it? Because
exactly, because you don't know. It's scary because you don't know what you can do and what you can't do. I mean, I got a fright about maybe 3 months after my operation. Kelly and Anne went away somewhere. I can't remember where they were. They were away for a wee holiday somewhere. And there was new smoke alarms to get fitted. It was when the new law came in, you had to get smoke alarms that were interconnected, fitted before a certain time. So I thought, right, I'll get these alarms fitted while they're away. There's nobody in the house, I can get on with it.
Yeah.
And instead of using the step ladders, I was just stretching up to fit them on the wall, you know. And I felt fine while I was doing it. But later on that night, I could start to feel a pain in the left-hand side of my chest. And when I got up the next day morning, I thought, what the hell's going on here? You know? And I actually put on your page on Facebook what I'd done and what was happening. And it was amazing the response I got. I can't remember what the muscles are called, but the muscles in between your rib cage are very sensitive after this operation because they all get split open.
Yeah, because they're traumatized. The whole of the body is traumatized by such invasive surgery.
So what I'd done was I'd stretched too far and I'd pulled these muscles.
Yeah, and it's like with exercise, it doesn't hurt immediately, but then as they settle back down again, that's when the pain started for you.
When it started, I didn't know what was happening. I Googled it and everything to try and find out it. And I can't remember who it was that had said on your page. It was one of the guys had said on your page, this is what's happened. These are, you know, you've got to be very careful with these muscles after this operation. And it took about 2 weeks for that feeling to go. But you could feel it getting better, obviously, but it took about 2 weeks for that to subside properly. So after that, I thought, no, John, you need to be careful and watch what you do. And Anne's always on my back. Don't you overdo it. Don't you do too much, you know.
She's your caretaker.
Exactly. Yes. Between her and my daughter, they keep me on the straight and narrow,
Yeah. How has it been for them?
It's been quite traumatic as well for them. First of all, seeing me like that in the hospital.
Yeah.
When Anne first came in and seen me, she actually passed out in the chair.
Yeah.
So
a shock.
Yeah, definitely. And then having to sort of look after me when I came home, you know, that things that her and my daughter never had to do before.
Yes, I can imagine. You know, it changes very much because, like you said, you're so weak and can't do much for yourself, and I believe everybody is traumatized afterwards, which kind of puts you into a shock state.
The funny thing is as well that my voice changed.
I've not heard that happen to anybody before, but that's interesting.
I think it was because of the tube down the throat.
Yes.
My voice sounded different for a while. I'm very sensitive to loud noises.
Okay. And is that since the surgery?
Since the surgery. I love listening to my music and that, and loud music and that doesn't bother me. But see the dog barking now, that annoys the crap out of me.
Right, okay.
If the boys are being too loud when they're in here carrying on,
then that's
it's like, aye.
Yeah.
And I'll need to speak to the doctor about it actually, because Anne reckons I've probably got PTSD or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
You can get that after the operation.
Yeah, you definitely can. And I was going to say that it sounds like hypersensitivity to certain things in life, which are triggering you.
I get angrier quicker as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite strange, you know. But these are all the things that, if this helps other people to realise this is what can happen to you, you know.
Absolutely. And I think this is an area, and this is why I do the podcast and have the group on Facebook. It's because there are so many things that, whilst the NHS would love to give, like in the UK, would like to be able to share with patients, it's only lived experiences that actually can help each other, because unless you've been through it, you don't know. The NHS and the hospitals, they put us back together, or take us apart, whichever way you want to look at it, physically, but it's the emotional and the mental side that I think there is a big gap.
Sorry. I don't think as well there's enough follow-up after this type of operation. After this operation, I went back to the hospital for the chest x-ray to make sure my lung was okay. You're meant to get a 6-week follow-up with the surgeon, which normally would have been a face-to-face.
Yeah.
I think it was about close on 3 months before I had any contact. And it wasn't the surgeon, it was his assistant. Right. And it was a telephone call. How are you doing, Mr. Fraser? Asks you loads of questions. How you're doing after the operation, how you're feeling, what are you doing to build yourself up, etc. Are you still walking plenty, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that sounds like you're doing really great. Right, we'll just discharge you from the... And I'm like, what?
You've just been cut adrift.
That was me discharged from the Royal Jubilee Hospital heart surgeons team.
And that in and of itself is frightening, isn't it? Because you've had all that support around you.
I had a follow-up appointment with my GP. So you go down, she had a look at my scars, takes your blood pressure, listens to your heart, etc. Oh, you seem fine. That's great. Seems like everything's worked great for you. You don't get anything else for a year. You get an annual checkup, which mine will be due on the 13th of June, which I will need to get in touch, make an appointment for that. I don't know if it's a doctor that does it, if it's a nurse that does it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you just get I get what you're saying about it. It's all the unknown, and if you knew who it was, then you'd probably feel a little more comfortable about it.
Now, I'm also a member of another page on Facebook, which is an American one, for the same sort of thing. It's just for people that have had bypass surgery. Hold on, my groups. Right, let's see. So your one's my heart and mind community for heart attack and heart surgery survivors.
That's right. Thanks for the plug.
Yeah. The other one is called Life After CABG Heart Bypass Support Group.
Okay. I will link to that in the show notes, because I think it's
really
amazing. Good. Yeah.
It's really amazing to see the difference between what happens in this country and what happens over there. Now, obviously, they're paying for everything. You know, everything over there is private. But the follow-up treatment they get and cardiac rehab they get so much quicker.
Yeah.
They have a lot of follow-ups with their surgeon after the operation. And I think it is probably just because they're paying for it, obviously.
Yeah, but possibly. I mean, I'm always surprised, because in our group, we have people from New Zealand and Canada and Australia and America. Yeah. And the differences it really does stand out. You know, each has their problems and each has their benefits, but you know, there doesn't seem to be one single way of managing the holistic part of the person.
And another thing I can't understand is nowadays there's a much easier way to do this operation. Okay, so you don't have to get split open.
Oh, really?
Yes, they can. It's like a keyhole surgery sort of thing.
Okay. Is that the
Uh,
TAVR or something like that?
Something like that, Sally. I can't remember what it's called. But they don't do it on the NHS.
Okay. I might have to see if I can find a guest for our show that has been through this and knows a bit about it.
Yeah,
So,
well, I've noticed some of them on that American page. That's the way they've had their operation done, and it's a lot less invasive, and you recover obviously a lot quicker.
yeah, yeah,
So it must cost a lot more money or something. Now
yeah,
the strange thing is, I told you I googled my surgeon. He's
yeah.
actually trained in that type of surgery. But I also googled before my operation because it was taking so long to get the operation. I googled how much it would cost to get this done privately.
Oh,
£18,000.
oh my goodness. That's a lot of
Yes.
money. Yeah,
If you want to get this done privately, that's between 17 and £18,000
yeah.
to get
And
this
that's
operation.
just for the surgery
That's
without the
just
aftercare or
that's just for the bypass surgery.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, it's frightening the amount of money it costs, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. But yeah, no, I mean that's nearly a year now after the operation. Personally, feel I'm doing great. Um, Apart from the issues that I discussed with you about the noise and the anger
Yeah,
issues and like that. Health wise, physically, I feel I'm really getting back to sort of where I was
that's good.
before the
That's
operation.
yeah. And there's hope and having your heart fixed that actually you'll improve and become much more healthy and stronger as time goes on.
Yeah,
You know.
it's sticking to the diet.
Oh, so
That can
what's
be a
your
bit.
weakness?
What's my weakness? Well, I used to love ice cream.
Me too.
Yeah, um, chocolate.
A little bit of dark chocolate's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, if we were going out for a meal anywhere, I would probably have a burger with all the trimmings.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, just things like that. But
Yeah.
I'm basically now following a low fat diet.
Yeah.
I was quite lucky before the operation. I wasn't using salt anyway,
Uh,
so that's not a problem. But sticking to the low fat, I still have a treat. You know, you've got to still have a treat.
absolutely. Moderation, I think,
Well,
80% healthy, 20% enjoy.
that is also what most of the professionals say. You know,
Mhm.
everything in moderation.
Yeah.
I was actually told before my operation because I says right, so I'm going to have to cut out all fat in my diet, etc. And I was told, no, don't do that. Don't cut out everything all at once because it will just make you miserable. And
Yeah. Then you
it's
create a bad relationship with food.
exactly. I
Yeah.
was told it's still okay to have a bit of pizza now and again. It's still okay to have that burger now and again. You know,
Yeah.
I've cut down on my alcohol intake as well, so
Yeah. So
that's all
there is
good.
life after a heart surgery.
There is. You can still have a beer and you can
Yeah.
still have your treats now and again. And
Excellent.
the only time I don't stick to my diet is if I'm on holiday somewhere. If I'm
Oh,
if,
well, you've got to live your
you
life,
know
haven't you? And I
exactly
believe in living your life happy. So, yes, yeah.
exactly.
So, John, I asked you if you had a quote or a meme.
Yes,
And would you like to just tell our listeners what your choice is?
I like this meme because it appealed to me and it appealed to my sense of humour. The more along the lines of it's the same old body but a reconditioned engine.
And I love that analogy. You sent me an image, and
Yeah,
I will use that in the show notes so people can see it. But I the analogy between a car and a heart. I heard a joke. I'm not very good at telling jokes, but it was between a mechanic and a heart surgeon, and there was this discussion, and the heart surgeon said, "It's all very well for you. You get to turn your engine off. Mine has to keep on moving." How different is it? And yet they're very much similar in the way that they work and they keep us going
yeah,
and the fine tuning and they have valves. So
yeah.
I use a car metaphor in some of my hypnosis that I do because I think it works
Well,
really well.
you have to get your car MOT'd every year. Once
Oh,
you reach a certain age, I think we should have an MOT every year.
absolutely. 100%. So Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? Do you have a top tip? I know you've mentioned a few, but is there anything that you'd like to share that would help somebody on their journey?
Just stay positive. Try and stay in a positive frame of mind. Before you go in for the operation, I know it's not going to be easy. Just try and relax. These people that do these operations, they do hundreds of them a year. They know exactly what they're doing. They do them every day of the week. You're in the best hands possible.
Absolutely.
Just have faith that they are going to do their job.
Yeah. And actually, I think by having a positive mindset, and I don't mean like a rah, rah, rah mindset, but believing in and trusting and having faith really helps with your recovery and going through the surgery.
Yes.
Positive mind, positive body, I think.
Exactly. And after the operation, the one thing I would say is listen to what you're told, do as you're told, try and walk as much as possible every day.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, John. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up now?
Not in particular. I've really enjoyed doing this with you. It's as I say, it's something I've never done before. I've really enjoyed it. And as I say, if it helps even one person during their journey, then it's all worthwhile.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And I share that sentiment. If we can help one person.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening today. It means a lot to me. I hope you got at least one takeaway from this episode. And if you're interested, you can find the show notes and any links that I've mentioned on my website. It's www.myheartandmind.co.uk/podcast. And finally, I just want to remind you, you are loved more than you will ever know. You are admired by more people than you'd ever expect. And you are worthy of joy and happiness.
You've been listening to Sally Crawley and the My Heart and Mind podcast, a show for you if you've had a heart attack, cardiac event, or other life-changing experience and want to feel good. It's all about mastering your feelings and emotions so you can feel great and live the life you love. To find out more, visit www.myheartandmind.co.uk and note that that's an AND and not the ampersand character. Go be magnificent.